We are not Sports Center. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Debate Amongst Friends. I am the Professor John Gotti. My co-host over here is Doc Leesner, the podcasting beast, and we're ready to provide you with another fun edition of sports news, analysis, and the reads. And we're going straight into this. 4 weeks of the NFL has passed, and someone on this panel has been playing some fantasy, a lot of fantasy, but we're going to just key in on maybe one or two. Doc, I heard you had yourself some pretty good weeks. You want to tell the people how you've been doing in fantasy? Do you want to explain to the people what fantasy is for the NFL, for football?
Sure, I can definitely do that. I mean, I'm hoping that people know what fantasy football or fantasy sports is. But I mean, basically, there are different kind of leagues where you have different lineups that you basically put into place in order to outscore your opponent. And in this situation, I am in a league that is pretty, I would say, heavy dominant in positions. And I guess this is a different style, one that I've never actually seen too many of. So this one has one quarterback, two receivers, three wide receivers, a tight end, one flex, a kicker. But then to add that extra element of knowledge, there are actually four defensive line spots, three linebacker spots, and two DB spots. This is a 20-man league, so I mean it was pretty deep during this draft. I will say I am 4-0, and thus far I've actually scored the most points in this league at 918 points, 42. Um, I'm looks like I'm killing people here. And I didn't think this. I didn't know about this team because I did draft Dak Prescott, who's playing okay. But I lucked out because for some reason in this particular league, people were not going running back. They were doing some weird stuff. So I wound up getting Alvin Kamara. I got Marlon Mack, but then I was able to come back and get Mike Evans. I got Miles Sanders. And I've kind of been mixing in some kind of fill-ins. I got Mac Hollins, who I'll probably drop from the Eagles because the Eagles kind of stink. Will Disley from Seattle, who's been really, really consistent over the last couple of weeks.
Yep.
He has been highly targeted, and I don't know what's going on in Seattle, but this guy is really catching some football here. And on the defensive line, it's kind of hard with defensive linemen because you just really never know who's going to stand out. So I have Carl Nassib, Joby from the Browns, and there's one guy who not too many people I feel like know about, and that's Sam Hubbard from the Bengals. Like this guy, I don't know how he does it, but it seems like every year I kind of pick him up at least the last 2 to 3 years, and he's been pretty successful.
Now, could it be more because the team stinks?
No, as a defensive lineman, I mean, I don't know. He's just been pretty good the last 2 years. And I mean, he's not somebody I hear about a lot at all, unless he's on my team. That's the only reason I know about him.
Of course.
But my last defensive lineman is Colin Farrell, who kind of got shut out last week, and I kind of wasn't feeling that too much. So I don't know if he's going to stay on Team Storm much longer, to be honest with you. But after that, my linebackers are Jay Brown from the Dukes Titans, Zach Cunningham from the Texans, and my man Mac Wilson, who actually took over for Christian Kirksey, who I had before he went out. I just picked up Mac Wilson because I just felt like the Browns were consistently on defense, and he might get the axe too. Honestly, I'm not sure. And then my DBs, I have Clayton Gathers from the Colts, and a popular name today is Buda Baker, I guess.
Yeah.
Because as I mentioned before the show, um, interesting trade in one of the other leagues, which is a heavy quarterback-driven league. Two quarterbacks, um, two wide receivers, two running backs, and then two flex positions: kicker, overall defense, one defender, two DBs, two linebackers, two defensive linemen. But for some reason, every team has three or four quarterbacks on their team. So it's extremely tough to get quarterbacks within this league. But I was able to make a trade for Mason Rudolph to kind of fill in my quarterback vacancy, as well as sign Mac Barkley, which hopefully, I mean, I don't wish injuries on Josh Allen, but that concussion protocol, I mean, I kind of hope that it goes to 3 games for your boy, and Matt Barkley can deliver. And I also got John Brown, so that's pretty awesome as well. But I mean, fantasy's been pretty fun. I think in this league, I'm 3-1 as well. So I mean, I'm doing pretty well. It's really just a matter of being consistent and taking it to the playoffs, really.
Absolutely. And I had a chance to check out like the scoring outputs based off of NFLfantasy.com or
Mm-hmm.
fantasy.nfl.com. And what
Mm-hmm.
if I told you three of the five offensive positions are Buccaneers?
I mean, I would definitely believe you because I mean, Mike Evans has been dominating, Chris Godwin has been dominating, and I mean,
And
depending.
so I need to add context to that. We're just talking about for week 4.
Oh, if it's week 4, then I mean, even still, even before this, I mean, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and I mean, Jameis, even though he threw that interception, unless Rojo is on there.
So you have Jameis. He's the number
Mm-hmm.
one quarterback in fantasy for last week. You
Chris
have
Godwin's got to be
Chris
on there.
Godwin, who's the number one wide receiver for last week, who had an incredible game.
He did. I think he had like 12 or 13 catches.
12 catches for 172 yards and 2 TDs.
Mm-hmm. And then if it's, I mean, I'm not sure because I don't. Well, Shaq Barrett did have a pretty good.
Well, of course,
Yeah.
NFL.com doesn't show based off of defenses like that.
Oh, it doesn't.
No,
That's interesting.
no.
Who's the last person?
And remember, I said offense.
You did. I was just curious.
Okay,
It has to be It would either be Rojo or Mike Evans.
neither.
I don't know who. Is it Peyton Barber?
It's your kicker, Matt Gay.
Freaking Matt Gay.
He
He had a good game.
did.
And I have Matt Gay on one of my teams, not on my NFL.com one. But Matt Gay, he can kick, and we scored 55 points. So you think about it, 55 points. I mean, that's a lot of freaking extra points. So that's
He
big
got
time.
15 points in fantasy. Like, it's
What a
so
beast.
interesting, like, seeing a lot of these. Now I'm looking at the 2019 totals, but, like, seeing who's up there. First of all, Christian McCaffrey, we said it
Mm-hmm.
before the season even started that he's going to be, top when it comes to fantasy numbers, especially now
Well,
that,
that,
the issues with Cam.
well, that's where it was interesting because we talked about it right before the draft, in which I wasn't even really prepared for these drafts. I mean, I'm surprised that I'm, you know, undefeated and 3-1. But I mean, Christian McCaffrey wasn't the first off the board. It was Barkley. It was, um, well, some people went Mahomes. I told you about
Yep.
that. Um, it was a mixture. I would say it was mostly Barkley, and then it was a mixture of Kamara and McCaffrey. But I don't think I saw anyone take McCaffrey first in any of the leagues that I drafted in.
And now, of course, Shaquan Barkley is out um,
Right,
in the interim right now.
which
But
stinks if
another
you
person
drafted him
that I
first.
said even beforehand when we was talking fantasy, Nick Chubbs.
Well, Nick Chubb, I think the problem was is that you have to keep in mind that Number one, they signed Odell. They had in the beginning of the season they had Duke Johnson, and then in 4 weeks, I think it's 4 weeks, you're going to get Kareem Hunt thrown in there.
Yep.
Which is shocking that some people not only have him already on their bench, but I've even seen some Gronk sightings on their bench. Believe it or not, some people have Gronk on their bench.
I can't believe it
now.
I can't believe it.
Yes,
he ain't coming back, folks.
Even listen, I'm not gonna lie. I had AJ Green on my bench for weeks, and I was like, AJ might be able to make it back, but I was like, you know what? I can't hold on to this. Number one, I don't trust the Red Rocket at all. So until they get rid of Dalton, I don't think this is gonna happen.
I mean, part one was getting rid of the head coach, and they did that. Part two is now getting rid of the quarterback.
Yeah, it's just not going to work out for him. I mean, Marvin Lewis. I mean, come on.
I know. We would rather play the game with the QB as the head coach than to have Marvin Lewis.
Straight varsity blues, exactly. Mm-hmm. But I mean, as far as fantasy goes, I mean, it's pretty open. I mean, it's week 4. I don't think this is time to throw in the panic meter. I mean, no. I don't know why that person made that trade with me today. I really don't get it. Because, I mean, Mitchell Trubisky's definitely out, like, indefinitely. And I feel like I just got a steal.
You did get a steal.
It's not a rolling, it's a Stoley.
You did get a steal. You're pulling a Daryl Morey and just robbing people, at night right there.
It's straight beef in the night.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, to get John Brown.
Like, that's crazy, though. Who does that?
Yeah, and John Brown, based on what I've seen, he's averaged about 10 to 15 points per week.
Yeah.
So, I mean, sometimes that's all I need. I don't need.
John Brown's number 20 in fantasy.
Hmm?
John Brown's number 20 in fantasy.
No, he's number 20 in my heart. I mean, I don't know. Because, I mean, listen, quarterback was my only worry going into the rest of the season. I told myself I was going to manage this. I had up until week 9, I believe it is, to find a quarterback because Trubisky and Philip Rivers, I think, have bye weeks after week 9. So I was like, okay, I got to find another quarterback. These guys have all the quarterbacks. I got to make a deal. And today, I got a deal done. I got rid of Trubisky, who I think is going to be out for probably the next 4 to 8 weeks or something like that. If they might even put him on IR. I just get John Brown, and all I gave up was Trubisky and Budda Baker. And I'm like, you can have Budda Baker. I did give up the kid from Kansas City, Robinson, but I think his time has kind of died down.
Well, and that's the thing, and that's the wonders of fantasy. We talk about this a lot. Like, it's week over week. Like someone can come out there with a 20-point game. Fantasy points, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
1 week, and then the next week only give you 3.
Without question.
Like, that's the wonders of fantasy. Yes, you can try to ride that wave, but once that wave is over, you crash hard.
Very hard. You got to be prepared to move. So at this point, I don't even keep a defense. I think I change my defense every week. I don't really get caught up too much on defenses. I usually play the matchup game, or whoever's playing the Dolphins. I guess whoever's playing the Dolphins and the freaking Redskins.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, if I can get those people, then I will. But I mean, that's fantasy in a nutshell.
Yeah, well, and I'm also reading. I got finished skimming through the waiver wire targets for week 5. And there's some interesting names. Some of them are definitely, that's a high risk, high reward type of thing. Just because they had a pretty good game.
But to be honest with you, most of the time it's off. I mean, if you're playing in a league with experienced people, most of those people are already gone.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why I don't even look at that stuff.
Well, I'm
I
laughing
use
because
that
we were just
more.
talking about the Red Rocket, and he's on this article for.
They must know that he's free.
Yeah, of course he's free.
Yeah, he's free. Not in one of the leagues I'm in. He's definitely on somebody's team. I can tell you right now because I'm telling you, all of the quarterbacks are gone. I can tell you right now. Let me go to it. I'll tell you exactly right now. The top quarterback that's available the waiver wire in this league, most likely, is Big Ben. Yeah, actually, so the only quarterback that I would be able to pick right now who has a chance of actually scoring points is Taysom Hill,
And we was talking about whether or not you want to pick him up or not. Which
which
he probably won't get
I
you
would.
points as a quarterback, but he'll get you some, receptions or something, even
See, that's the
tackles.
thing. I don't think they. Let me see if they count that
They
rushing defense.
should.
I guess they would. They should. I
They
mean, because he
should.
gets tackled too. But I don't think they. Yeah, I don't think they give him like he's gotten 12, 6, 6, and 4 points. I just it's just a shame that I had to go through this. Honestly,
I mean, this stuff happens though.
yeah.
No, this stuff
Um,
happens.
yeah, because right now, yeah, there's no other quarterbacks that are free. I mean, every quarterback is accounted for. But that's my fantasy football report, man, in a nutshell.
Absolutely, and we'll try to get more and more of these little fantasy stuff as the season comes along. We probably won't do it every week, but
Sure.
we'll definitely get more of these doc nuggets in here, and we'll be right back with more debate amongst friends right after these messages.
You're listening to Debate Amongst Friends on Anchor FM. Anchor FM is a free and easy to use platform where you can record, edit, and post your show right from your phone or computer, and it will be automatically distributed to platforms such as Apple and Google Podcasts. As seasoned podcast personalities, we found Anchor FM to be user friendly and resourceful, allowing us to create great shows and sound bites on the go. Last but not least, Anchor FM gives you an opportunity to monetize your podcast as they link you with potential sponsors, and you can potentially start making money by recording advertisements just like this. Kickstart your podcasting journey today with Anchor FM by visiting their website at www.anchor.fm, and we look forward to hearing your podcast.
Welcome back. We're gonna stay on the gridiron for just a little while and just bear with us because we had some games. We had, scenarios where people needed to eat their words and they chose not to. We had people being surprised about a certain team upsetting a top NFC team. I mean, I don't know about you, Doc, but I'm ready to start off with this Buccaneers Rams game. I mean, I felt like that was probably the most hype game of the whole weekend.
Well, I was tuned into it, and we kind of talked about this last week. Really and honestly, the Bucks should be 3-1 right
They
now.
should be.
I mean,
I agree.
we should be 3. There's no question about it. And just looking at it, while I was outside, of course, I'm looking on my phone at Bleacher Report Live, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, "Yo, we got 21 points in the
Yes.
first half. Excuse
First
me,
half, yes.
20. Well,
28.
actually, no, we had
It was
28 points in the first half.
Yes.
And I was sitting there and I was like, what in the world is going on? I need to be watching this game. But,
Yes.
I was out with the girls, coaching up a little football, making sure we got those W's because we did eat those W's this weekend, which is awesome.
I can't believe you said that.
That's all right. I didn't want to use it, but it's already out there, so it's fine.
Oh, no.
Jameis has come a long way. Jameis came a long way from that. But I think ultimately, when I look at this game, I mean, although it was awesome, I'm still looking at that fourth quarter where, I mean, it really was a whole game in the second half. I mean, you look at the score, 3 points each team in the third quarter, but 24-20 in the fourth quarter is insane.
It is insane.
24-40 was one quarter was more than the whole Saints and freaking Cowboys game. What the heck? I think the Chiefs and the Lions finished with a similar game. Like the fourth quarter of this game was that's unbelievable to me.
It
But
was
I
unbelievable.
will
Yes.
say this is what I'm going to say.
Go ahead.
I think Jameis Winston is trying number one
Mm-hmm.
to get an extension.
Go ahead.
Number two, he's trying to shut up his haters because they're chattering in the
Oh,
background.
they are. Oh, they are. I
You
mean, I
know,
don't know why they're trying to rob
hated.
Jameis.
Yeah, they robbing him. But ultimately, I think that the supporting cast, the offensive line, blocked fantastic this weekend. I mean, Jameis is just finding people all over the place. Shout out to Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, all those guys. They were just balling out of control.
Yes. Well, I mean, and you hear a lot of coaches say, well, we really just need to, you know, amp up the defense intensity in the fourth quarter. I mean, in the fourth quarter, around midway through it, it was still a game. But then
Mm-hmm.
once the Bucks got that
Yeah,
last touchdown, that 2-play, 72-yard drive from
yeah,
their starting from their 28 to get that touchdown to make it 45-27, the game was over. So even
yeah. And
though even though that fourth quarter stat looks like it was a lot closer, like the rest after that, everything else was garbage time.
You're absolutely right though, because I think when we scored that 45th point that you're talking about, and really what happened was Jameis came back and threw the pick six. And that is what kind of gave the Rams a little bit of life. So then when we came back and kicked a field goal to make it 48-40, I was sitting in the car. We were on our way back home from the game, and I was like, all right, Shaq Barrett, we need that sack fumble. This is it right here. And
Shaq
when I
Barrett
tell
had
you,
a heck of a game.
a minute later, sack fumble. And guess who picks it up for the 54th point? And
Dominican Sue.
Dominican Sue.
And how apropos was that?
How wonderful is that? That's so awesome. But yeah, the game was good. I'm happy that we were able to finish. Obviously, last week, the weeks before last season, we have a hard time finishing these kind of games. We throw it
Mm-hmm.
away. But I just felt like Jameis has been in a groove. Like whatever happened in the first 2 weeks, he was like, you know what, this can't happen anymore. And then, that game against the Giants, I'm sure he was just like, okay, that's enough. This week,
Well,
we come out and play differently.
I mean, and I think the biggest difference was, you keep saying this too, is Jameis doesn't need to play hero ball.
And he didn't.
And he
Yeah,
didn't.
I
Like
mean,
he
yeah.
played based off of the flow and the pace of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Jameis is going to get his yards.
Yeah.
Like he has that ability to do so. But when he's trying not to go for home runs for every single play,
Mm-hmm.
these are the results. And then having the defense doing what they're doing,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
spectacular. I mean, they got 3 sacks. And
Three.
one of the blueprints, as I had a chance to watch the post game analysis to, frazzling that Rams offense, who they're no slouches, they're a high powered offense,
Mm-hmm.
is just pressure up the middle, pressure up the middle.
And I mean, the key stat that really stuck out to me was 5 carries for 16 yards for Todd Gurley.
Yep,
Huge.
yep, very
Huge.
huge, very
That's
huge.
huge. But I'm all here for it. I mean, I won't take up everybody's time. And don't get me wrong. I knew that, I knew that Jared Goff was not going to come out there and, just lay down. I mean,
No.
but the fact that he had to throw the ball 68 times, that's way too much.
Well, and for the most part,
Way
it's
too
because they
much.
were so behind that they're trying to make up the points. But the problem is, if you're not doing anything to keep the defense honest, throwing it that many
Mm-hmm.
times isn't going to help you win.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And it's just a shame because I think the people are forgetting. I mean, it's almost like the Rams aren't even the same team. I don't know what's going on, but
It could be Super Bowl hangover.
it could be. But they're 3-1. They're the first team to go down. They're one of the first teams, because everybody's like, "Oh my God, there's so many undefeated teams," but it's
Stop
like, okay, they went
Stop
down. And that kind of goes into one of our next games, I guess, which is the second team, I guess, that went down with their quote unquote undefeated record. And that's the Cowboys losing to the Saints 12-10.
And you mentioned this before with Todd Gurley rushing and just coming with so little yards. Ezekiel Elliott only rushed for that name freaking sucks. Ezekiel Elliott only carried the ball 18 times for 35 yards. Now, we've mentioned this time and time again on this podcast and away from this podcast. We kept saying, in order to beat the Cowboys, you got to stop Zeke.
Yeah.
And people were saying at the beginning of the season, and how many times have I said this? The first 2 weeks of the season is not a great sample size to say a quarterback is now elite.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, Dak, 22 for 33, I was happy with it. He only threw one interception. I would have loved for him to get a touchdown pass for my fantasy league, but it didn't matter because I had won this week anyway. But this isn't Cowboys football from what I'm looking at here. I don't know what this is, honestly.
But once again, the problem wasn't that. The problem was the Cowboys, if you looked at their record before this game, were playing really bad teams.
That's true.
And people are over there talking about they're going to the Super Bowl, they're going to win the NFC East, like the NFC, like after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, despite the schedule that they had? No, stop it.
I will say this. I will say this. The Saints didn't look great either. They kind of looked almost identical.
Yes.
Because Alvin Kamara didn't really get too many points either. Michael Thomas didn't do that great. Teddy Bridgewater, kind of similar numbers, 23 for 30, 193, one pick. It wasn't a great game, but, I mean, the Saints won nonetheless. So
the Saints managed to win with their defense.
Now the Cowboys are 3-1.
Yep.
So, I mean,
and big ups to Marshawn Lattimore.
Yeah.
Had a heck of a game defending against Amari Cooper, even though that other pissant on FS1 kept saying that Amari Cooper had a ankle injury. I'm like, well, if he's on the field, there's no excuses.
This just doesn't look like a team that's, I don't know. First of all, I don't think they should extend Amari Cooper personally. I think they should probably try to go out and find themselves a real number one. I mean, don't get me wrong, Amari Cooper's a great player, but I'm not sure he's a number one.
He's not number one.
Yeah. He can quote us on that. He can quote us on that. I don't know. I mean, the fact that Jason Witten had to come out of retirement, I mean,
speaks volumes. It speaks volumes.
And I wonder if somebody called him and was like, Jason, do you really like being in the booth? Don't you want to run a little bit?
Yeah, and I got the inside scoop on who it was. It was freaking Jerry Jones who called him.
I'm sure Jerry called him. Jerry probably felt that Jason could come out there and save him, but I don't think there's too much saving.
I mean, he was like, we need Jason, 2.0 out here to help us out.
And Jason is slower than ever, but he's out there balling still, and that's all I can really.
I mean, and talking about just taking risk, let's talk about this Redskins-Giants game.
What a disappointing game.
Say it. Tell the people.
It's really disappointing.
Tell them.
So first and foremost, we had reads last week where we said, I think you said, this is shortly after I pushed the panic button for the Redskins, that we knew that this was going to be the game that we saw Dwayne Haskins. 9 for 17, 3 interceptions.
Once again, he's a rookie. He's a rookie.
But see, the problem is that you have 2 other rookies, obviously Daniel Jones, and of course you have Kyler Murray. And Kyler Murray's not playing good by any means.
No.
But
Daniel Jones didn't really have that good of a game either. He threw for 2 picks.
Yeah, that's why I wish that we would have really locked him up last week, but that's neither here nor there. Wayne Gallman was really the story of this particular game, as he not only ran the ball well, but he caught the ball well as out of the backfield.
Absolutely.
But I mean, the Redskins, I don't know. I
The
mean,
Redskins are who
they
we
don't
thought they
really have
were.
a well, they don't have a run game. I mean, I love AP, but they just don't have the run game there, and that's probably affecting them in the pass game. Their defense doesn't look that good.
Their
No
defense is
sacks on the
suspect.
day.
When we was talking
Yeah,
about Landon Collins,
which you would have thought that landing house would have made a huge difference, but I just don't think they have the it factor. And it could really be it could be the coach.
well, and I
Uh,
don't. Well, it's definitely the coach. I mean,
mhm.
now they're talking about whether or not he's going to be fired or not because he started Dwayne Haskins. But I mean, they don't have an identity. Like, what is their motivation?
Well, they used to be a running team. I mean, the Redskins have always been a running team,
Well,
like
the NFC East
forever.
were pretty much running teams.
That's true. I don't know what's going on. Maybe going to Adrian Peterson at this stage of his career as a starting running
Not
back. I
wise.
mean, they only ran 16 or 15 times, so I
Yep.
mean, it wasn't like they ran it a whole bunch.
Or they ran it
I don't
17
know.
times.
I'm not counting those two, but Haskins, he probably was running for his life.
I mean, it's still
I'm not gonna
23
count those
yards. I mean,
two.
if not that, you're looking at only 32 yards from the running backs.
That's why they put Dwayne Haskins in there just to make it look better, because he probably was running for his life,
He
honestly.
was. He was looking
And
like
that's why.
Baker Mayfield last week against the Rams.
And to think about this, somebody tried to get me to trade Alvin Kamara for Dwayne Haskins. This is what they're
No.
asking me for. This is what they're saying. Hey, take this 9 for 17, 107, and 3 picks. Oh, don't forget these 2 carries for 23 yards. And you give me Alvin Kamara because you need a quarterback. And I was like,
No.
you got to be kidding me. I'd rather, again, play with 10
10
guys
guys.
and take a 0 than to take this negative points that he'll probably give me.
Exactly. No,
I mean,
stop it. Stop.
it's just not happening.
Stop
It's just not
disrespecting
happening.
Doc like that. Stop it.
I wish they would. I really do. Speaking of disrespect, I mean, you talked about the Browns getting some major disrespect.
Did I not call this though?
You did, and we didn't hit the panic meter on the Browns. Well, you didn't. I hit it slightly. I think I put
You
my
hit it
pinky on
slightly.
it.
You said you put
I
your
did hit
pinky
it
on it.
slightly. Yes, I put my pinky on it because of the coaching decision. But it seemed like this week they were able to re-identify themselves, get back to the run with Nick Chubb, 20 carries, 165. He went off. It seems like Odell kind of took a back seat to Jarvis Landry, who I know went out later on in the game.
With a
But
concussion, yeah.
coach stinks because I had him on the bench, but it's neither here nor there.
And that's just the thing, and that's the thing. I was telling people at the beginning of the season, stop looking at the first 3 weeks. Stop looking at the
Yeah.
first 3 weeks because it's
True.
way too soon to be calling, Baker Mayfield overrated, the Browns trash, and all this other mess. I'm like, they're pretty much a brand new group with a brand new head coach, rookie head coach. Give it a few
Yeah.
weeks.
Now the question is, because I know you mentioned this off stream, is this the Browns winning or the Ravens losing? Because I know a lot of people question Lamar Jackson and the Ravens
That
defense.
pissant Stephen A. Smith
Mm-hmm.
had to use his words, and since everyone likes to be Stephen A. Smith followers, the unmitigated goals
Mitigated goal.
to not only admit that he was wrong about his claim about the Browns, but he straight up said it was because of the Ravens defense that the Browns crushed him.
In which both quarterbacks did okay. I don't know. Obviously, the Ravens defense couldn't have been playing that great because, I mean, not to take anything away from Chubb, but 20 carries, 165, 3 touchdowns.
But like, if you look at the tapes, you could see where things are. It was more of a matter of defensive discipline. That was the issue.
Mm-hmm.
They were still getting their tackles. They were still getting tackles for loss. But the Browns finally played a balanced attack. And that allowed them to do what they need to do. Nick Chubb carried it for 20 times. And Baker
20
Mayfield threw the
times, yeah.
ball 30 times. Like, that's pretty balanced.
It is pretty balanced.
But we're acting like, oh, well, it's because of the Ravens defense. Stop. Like, why you got to keep throwing shade? And I'm not acting like a Browns mark, but I said at the beginning of the season, I had the Browns winning the division.
I can understand that.
And I said at the beginning of the season, it's going to be rough because they have to get themselves – like, they haven't even gotten to their full potential yet. We mentioned Odell Beckham Jr. He only had 2 catches.
Right.
Like, he hasn't even – like, they haven't even hit their stride. And that's what – first of all, let's applaud the Browns defense as well, too, because they didn't have – they had several people who was out. They didn't even have any of their starting corners, actually. One of their safety was out, too. And they managed to hold the Ravens to 25 and put up 40.
And Lamar Jackson still got his.
He did.
I just think that it's one of those situations where you have to make plays at certain times, and those guys just didn't get it done.
Yeah, and once again, this is another team. The Browns is another team that should have been 3-1, but fourth quarter goal line, terrible decisions led to them losing last week.
Exactly,
and they would be 3-1, just like the Doc's Buccaneers. But I think it's going to take them winning like 4 in a row for people to start respecting them, and that's a shame.
And and speaking of, I guess, winning 4 in a row, I guess we have to stay in that division and talk about a team that's lost 4 in a row. A team that I heavily criticized their coaching choice for a long time. That's the Bengals of Cincinnati.
Or as we like to call them, the Bungles of Cincinnati.
Bengals are going to be Bengals, I think, is what the phrase was.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, Andy Dalton, right? 21 for 37, 171, 1 interception. They're kind of wasting Joe Mixon's talent.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And this is another one of those things where it's like, I know that they're missing AJ Green, but it's really no excuse. You got Tyler Eifert, you got John Ross, who we just found out today is hurt.
Yep.
You have this young kid, Alden Tate, Tyler Boyd. They have some talent. I just think that scoring 3 points at this juncture is just unacceptable.
No, absolutely not. No, absolutely not.
And honestly, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I think between the Bengals and the Dolphins, they're trying to win that Tua sweepstake.
And that's horrible. I don't like that. Get that out of here. Because Tua might not even be good. I don't really know too many Alabama quarterbacks.
And you said this years ago, too, and that's the funniest part. You said this years ago.
Yeah, it's the same thing, with a lot of quarterbacks. Florida quarterbacks don't really come in and be that great. Alabama quarterbacks are not really that great either. But I will say shout out to Mason Rudolph, who's a new member of my team, which is perfect. I just traded for him. James Conner. Obviously, they didn't run the ball too well this game. 10 carries for 42 yards.
No.
Him, Jalen Samuels had 10 carries for 26 yards. So it seems like the Steelers are still trying to get it together without Le'Veon. Looks like they missed Le'Veon at some point.
Absolutely.
But
and I'm pretty sure Le'Veon misses them too.
Yeah, being in New York. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets dealt in the offseason because it's just not working. They would have been better off trading for James Conner, honestly.
I agree with you.
Yeah, they would have, because that's more of their style. I haven't watched the Jets at all this year, but I just know that
you haven't missed anything. I
really haven't missed anything. Better than 1-3 for the Steelers. I know people are over there saying that it might be time for Mike Tomlin to get fired, which is crazy talk.
I don't know. It's really hard to tell because the Steelers, they tend to just, dig their heels in and just deal with the, deal with the harsh winds, the gusts. So it's hard to tell if they're going to get fired, if Mike Tomlin's going to get fired or not.
And it's just tough. You lose Big Ben, you lose Antonio Brown, you lose Le'Veon, you lose several people. I just think that you have to kind of give it some time here. Give it some time.
I will agree with you.
I mean, they picked up Minka Fitzpatrick. I mean, hopefully that solidifies their defense. TJ Watt is playing good. Cameron Haywood's still playing good. Their
I
rookie
mean,
Devin Bush is
I mean, the
playing
defense
well.
is pretty good that they held the Bengals down to just 3 points.
I mean, that's another one of those. Did the Bengals beat the Bengals or did the Steelers beat the Bengals? But
Technically
27-3
both.
was
Technically
a
both for that one.
yes.
Because
20,
because because
27-3.
we knew who the Bengals were before the game.
True. 27-3 is not prime time though, and the
No.
NFL needs to go back and look at some of these scheduling. Like, all right, we're never scheduling the Browns for this. We're never scheduling the Bengals for this. We're never scheduling, the Dolphins anymore because
Oh my
Dolphins,
gosh.
if they're scheduled in for a Monday night game, they might as well change it right now.
Absolutely. I mean, speaking of primetime games, though, we have a few more minutes for this segment. Next week or this Thursday, we have the Rams versus the Seahawks. Now, that should be a really good game to watch.
That should be, and I think the Seahawks have been quietly kind of really, really good. But obviously, they've beaten some teams. I think we mentioned it that haven't had their quarterbacks who,
Yep.
So I mean, it's another one of those things where you don't really know. But I mean, Seattle's always been pretty good.
I will agree with you.
But there's no way the Rams come out, after that loss to Tampa. They're going to be coming out.
No. Plus, is the division game too. No. Expect a really exciting game on Thursday, folks.
Yeah, I think the Rams will come out excited and ready to get another win.
I mean, and then we also have the Browns versus the 49ers on Monday prime time as well, too. That should also be another good game. The Niners coming off their bye week, which I'm surprised bye week started this soon.
I am too. But we're going to see. I mean, the 49ers are one of those teams who are,
expected to do good.
So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely.
They're actually the last unbeaten team in the NFC.
Well, I mean, they had the bye week, so that's kind of the reason why. But we'll find out what happens this Monday.
We'll see, yeah. We'll see.
But, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have more Debate Amongst Friends right after these words. Welcome back to Debate Amongst Friends. Let's get away from the gridiron. Let's hit the hardwood dock. ESPN posted their top 100 NBA players. Now, we're not sure if it's before the 2019-2020 season or after the 2019-2020 season. Doc, what were your thoughts on the list?
I mean, it's a pretty fair list. I can understand why they would have put this list together. Obviously, there are some people who have fallen dramatically, some people who have risen dramatically. But ultimately, it all comes down to really where LeBron James is. I mean, that's ultimately where it always comes down to.
Yeah.
Which he's controversially at number 3.
Oh, he's very controversial at number 3. And I'm calling out ESPN for making a separate article titling ESPN Top 100 Players 10 to LeBron James. I mean, how big is your ego? But LeBron James is not number 3 for this year. LeBron James is less than number 3. James Harden is top 3 in the NBA. And I don't get why people continually disrespect him.
I think the problem is that the same thing that hurts James Harden helps LeBron. And it's really that postseason past. People say that James Harden disappears in the playoffs. And of course, people say that LeBron rises in the playoffs. But the thing is, if we're going based off of last season, clearly James Harden, as he unfortunately finished in the MVP rankings, should be at number 2, exactly. And this is no shade. This is no shade against Kawhi. I like Kawhi a lot. But, I mean, it's a toss-up between 1 through 3 for me.
And I can understand that, too. I mean, they have Giannis Antetokounmpo at number 1. I feel like they put him number 1 based off him being the MVP for the regular season. But once again, my problem is if we're looking based on what happened during the playoffs, then Kawhi will be number 1. Because they beat the Bucks.
Yeah,
and that's where the conundrum comes. Like, what is the formula that you're using to determine these rankings? Because if you're looking at just past legacies, of course LeBron James is going to be number one. He's probably played the longest out of all these players on the list.
Yeah,
If
I
you're looking
agree.
based off of playoff records, once again, LeBron James will be number one because he's been in the playoffs for every single year.
True. And honestly, I would actually go on to question another ranking and kind of swap one more.
Go for it.
I probably would swap Nikola Jokic for Anthony Davis.
I agree, and I'm so glad you said that too. I mentioned that on the sound clip. I said Nikola Jokic might actually be the MVP for next season. I said the same thing this past season, actually, and I wasn't completely, incorrect. He was still definitely in the race. But Anthony Davis and LeBron James in the top 5, are you kidding me?
They're painting the narrative already.
Yeah, they are. Mind you, this is the same company that towards the beginning of training camp is trying to throw those little seeds of doubts like, well, maybe the Lakers aren't going to be as good. Maybe they don't have, the bench to help out. They got to keep LeBron and AD healthy. We knew this stuff already. But y'all over there already declaring them, the NBA champions of the 2019-2020 season.
And you know what else is crazy? Just thinking about it. I mean, thinking about it last year, or their previous rankings, it says that LeBron was number 1.
Yep.
Steph Curry was number 2.
Yep.
So my thing is Steph number 6 because he's fallen off, which I feel like he's done the same thing for the last several years. I don't think he's done anything differently. But the first question that
Steph
pops up
Curry
here
should
is,
be in the top 5 of MVP, voting for last year.
so look at this. The question here, just how good can Steph be without Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson? That has nothing to do with how good he was last season.
Exactly.
I don't know why he would fall this bad.
Exactly. Like and that's why I ask, and I challenge, this pissant who wrote this article, and I'm calling you out right now. I'm calling you out. What is your criteria for these players to be on this list? Because there's issues here. There's a lot of issues here. Like you're using certain variables for one player that'll help them, but then using other variables that'll go against them.
Yeah, I don't really understand it. And just to make sure, I'm okay with 8, 9, and 10.
I'm okay with that too.
I don't know. And this is just for fun. I'm going to go check out who number 11 is just to make sure. It's Kyrie. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay with Kyrie being number 11. I can understand that. Russell Westbrook being number 12. Okay. These are fine. These are absolutely fine. Okay. So let me go back here. So the top 10 is fine. The people in the top 10 are absolutely fine. Joel Embiid might be a little, I can understand why you would put him up there, but maybe he's number 10, Dame's number 8, and Paul's number 9. It's tough.
Exactly.
I can get over Steph being number 6.
Exactly. Like, what is your criteria for this? Like, it doesn't make any sense because we could poke holes in every single ranking that we've chosen. We can use playoff history. We can use what happened in regular season. We can use awards. But is it being used consistently for every single player? Because if it's not, then this list is trash. And the person who wrote it is even bigger trash.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So I have an issue with that. That was what my issue was. But let's get to the next subject.
See what happens.
Kyrie Irving, during the press conferences prior to around the time that training camp started during Brooklyn Nets' media day, he talked about what led to him leaving the Celtics and his feelings as he was leaving, and people were waiting for him to say whatever, blah blah blah, but he said some really insightful things, and a lot of it was correct. He mentioned how he didn't step up as a leader on the Celtics, which is true. He wasn't ready for the duties and the responsibilities. He wasn't able to help elevate the team, corral them around, especially, as they was trying to make that push in the playoffs, towards the playoffs to get better seedings and things like that. And he's looking forward to his new journey. He's not that far away from home now, with him playing in Brooklyn. So, I mean, Doc, what are your thoughts about this?
I mean, the question is because a lot of this, I'm reading an article here, and I did get a chance to listen to some clips, but it sounded like he didn't want to be the leader of that team. And I think the problem with his career is that, being selected number 1 overall by the Cavs, I think he had his chance to lead the Cavs. Of course, then you bring back LeBron, and LeBron's like easily taking over the team. Once LeBron gets there, there's automatically people getting traded left and right. You bring in other people, and it's like, this is no longer my team.
Kyrie once LeBron announced that he was coming back home, I use air quotes for that, it was no longer Kyrie's team.
Right. So Kyrie goes over to Boston, where, obviously he's the guy, but then he doesn't even really want to be the guy.
Nope. Can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah, that's why it's so weird. So I think in this situation, I think Kyrie knew that he needed to go somewhere where I guess he didn't have to be the guy, and who better to team up with than, my name, Kevin Durant.
Wow.
I mean, you know his name.
Yeah, I know his name. We sat here and defended him because people are basically trying to tarnish his legacy because of his decision to play with the Warriors. Right. But, so we won't do the same thing with the Heat. But, the Heat wasn't a 73-win team. Who cares?
Yeah, nobody cares. No one.
Who cares? Who did he join up with? 2 other top 5 players in the league. Stop it.
So, ultimately, I think the Celtics probably will be better as long as they don't expect Kemba to carry them and they play as a team. I think they'll be a lot better. Obviously, they not only lost Kyrie, but they lost Al Horford as well, which is huge.
And they also lost Terry Rozier too.
Well, Terry was ready. I mean, I'm hoping that
Terry was on his way out the door. After some ESPN meeting interview on First Take, he was gone. He didn't care.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that Terry gets the opportunity to shine in Charlotte. But I mean, it's a lot of moving pieces. I don't think I expected the Warriors to do what they did. With this quote unquote "don't you let me go to Brooklyn for free" attitude that KD went with.
Yeah.
But I'm interested to see what happens with the Warriors. I'm interested with the Celtics, and of course with the Nets. I mean, Kyrie's going to be dazzling. I don't know if people are going to look to expect, that Jason Kidd New Jersey Nets run. I don't think Kyrie can do that for them in a tough East.
No, and the East is tough still.
It's very tough. It's very tough. It's way tough. But the good thing is that he's joining a Celtics team that is mentally tough. They have some tough players on the Brooklyn Nets.
Absolutely.
And I think if KD comes back strong, then for the next 2 to 3 years, they'll be in the playoff contention. They'll be in there. But I don't know. Kyrie's legacy is slowly but surely diminishing.
And I can understand that. Like I said, I just thought that his comments were honest, at least. At least he owned up to it. Mm-hmm. And not one person in media spoke about this at all, which means they agree with what he said. They didn't try to misconstrue his words or warp it to, fit some type of narrative. So I can at least appreciate that. But yes, I agree. His legacy is definitely taking a hit.
Yeah, he needs to this needs to be his last stop. He needs to play basketball. Obviously, he needs to stay healthy.
Yes.
Injuries have plagued him as well. So that's the one thing about Brooklyn. They have to worry about Kyrie and KD, their injury history. But ultimately, I mean, we have to just wait and see.
I will agree with you. But, ladies and gentlemen, we will have more for you right after this.
Ladies and gentlemen, at the end of every show, we do what we like to call a 2-minute drill, where we try to hammer out some of the topics that are happening this week, but didn't get a chance to have a actual segment. First, the preseason for the NBA. That's right, it's back. It starts this Friday as the Rockets go up against the Clippers and the Pacers face off against the Kings.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm talking about $20 Chinese food because the playoffs for the Major League Baseball Association has arrived. It begins with the wild card round, where the Milwaukee Brewers face off against the Washington Nationals, and it's going to be great. Doc?
It is October, isn't it? Oh, goodness. So, Jay Ajayi tells the NFL that he is fully healthy and is ready to come back to the NFL. There are several teams clearly that need running back help. I'm curious to see what team brings him on, but we'll have to wait and see. Over to you, Prof.
And finally, Borderlands 3 is celebrating their 10-year anniversary with several events in October, the first of which is Boss Week, which certain enemies, in fact, it's just the bosses, have an increased chance of dropping certain loot for those who play the game, such as the Fatale, as Doc knows exactly what that weapon is because we're not going to say the name of that weapon. Next week, it'll be a rare spawn hunt. The following week will be Show Me the Iridium, which means it's going to be a huge increase in Iridium drops. Next week after that is Mayhem on Twitch, which is something great for those who are streaming on Twitch. And finally, a spooky surprise. So that might be our first DLC coming out.
Awesome. Doc? And my last comment here, James Harden is going to attempt to break out his one-legged three-point jumper this season. He's been, of course, in the news as the prime target of the new traveling rules that have been put in place, but the NBA has come out and said that he technically is not traveling. So can we please put that to bed? And just like that, that's a wrap.
Thank you for listening to Debate Amongst Friends. Give us a follow on our social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
You can also listen to all of our Debate Amongst Friends podcasts here on Anchor, as well as Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and iTunes.
And like we always say, goodbye, and to all, a good night. LASG.
Peace to you.
Yay!